And now we're on Daf Tes Vav Amid Beis, and we'll see that Rabbi Gamliel's drasha was not necessarily universally accepted. The Shamei Rabbi Meir, because Rabbi Gamliel heard the following from Rabbi Meir. Dika Omar, he hechilasa madani olam. How did she get involved in this intimacy? She fed this man, delicacies. She was a very rich woman, so she searched the whole world to find the most outstanding delicacies, like the chef. Is the fichach mida keneged mida is karbanam machal behem. So that was the great drasha of Rabbi Gamliel, the name of Rabbi Meir. Amalahu. I'm sorry. Let's get the name straight. I messed up all on the names here. So the Rabbanan had heard this presentation from Rabbi Meir. Amalahu. Rabbi Gamliel said, you've covered the case of a rich woman. Hanei Chashira, she can afford all these delicacies of the world. Right? She buys all the imported fancy delicacies. But Aniya Mai Ikal Meimar, you're not going to be able to explain why a poor Sotah brings Siorin. So instead of Rabbi Meir's presentation, that Hechilasa Madani Olam, we should say, no, she did an act that's animalistic. She was privately secluded with another man, not loyal to her husband, and therefore her korban is Michael Behem. The Mishnah says the following. We're going back to Minchas Sotah, Yemevi Pyole Shel Cheres, some sort of a receptacle that's made out of earthenware. V'nosein l'socha chatzi log mayim and akiyar. Again, we're trying to mix up this concoction here, and into this Pyole Shel Cheres, they placed water from the kiyar. The kiyar is a klishares, and it was a chatzi lug. Rabbi Yehuda Omer revius. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees, and it requires a revius lug of mayim and akiyar. Now, the Gemara now explains why Rabbi Gamliel would lower the volume requirement of mayim. He's being very consistent. So we're going to have a machlokas between Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim in a Mishnah later on Daf Yud Zayin about how many psukim are written in the Megillah Sotah. And the more psukim, the more mayim you need to erase those psukim. So Rabbi Yehuda has the smallest of all the various shitos in terms of how much writing has to be written in the Megillah to be erased by the mayim. So our Mishnah is making a comment that just like Rabbi Yehuda minimizes the amount of writing on the Megillah, so too Memela, in a corresponding way, he minimizes the amount of water that it takes to obliterate the ksav. Nichnas laheichal upana liyamino. We have a principle that whenever a Kohen enters into the heichal, he always turns to the right. Umakom hayisham amal ama. Right on the floor of the Azara, there were marble, I guess you'd call them tiles, and there was one tile that was designated for the offer, meaning the offer below that tile. They would have to lift up the tile to dig into the offer, and that offer was designated for the Minchas Sotah. How large was this tile? It was amal ama. V'tavla shel shayish v'tabas hoisa kvua ba. In order to distinguish that particular part of the floor of the Azara, which was an Amma, and was designated for the offer of the Sotah, they put a tavla, loosely translated as a flagstone, and a ring was affixed to it. So again, the entire floor of the Heichal was tiled with marble. However, there was one particular stone that stood out from the rest. It had a ring attached to it. The Kohen would lift up that tile with the ring, and then Shumagbia, the Mishnah says, Notel offer mitachteha. He removes earth from beneath it. Exactly how he does that is going to be machlokas rishonim. But anyway, v'nosein kidei sheyeroeh alamayim. Right? He puts into a vessel, a receptacle, enough offer that when he adds it to the mayim, it will sort of float on top. It'll be visible. Shenemar, and the pasuk says in Bamidbar Perkei, in the parsha of Sotah, it says El Hamoyim, not Bamayim, but El Hamoyim. You know, Ofar Shayir B'Karka Mishkan Yikach L'Koyim V'Nosan El Hamoyim. What does it mean, El Hamoyim? El Hamoyim means to the water, not into the water, but to the water. Meaning that this offer should not be dissolved in the water, but rather it should sort of like float and be visible on the water. The Gemara says, Tana, we learned in the Brisa, Peyoli Shel Cheres Chadasha Divrei Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Yishmael requires that this earthenware vessel be brand new. What does it mean, brand new? It means it was never used before. And this is going to be derived from Mitzorah. In other words, Rabbi Yishmael is going to have an equation between Mitzorah and Sotah. My time, Rabbi Yishmael, Gomar Kli Kli Mitzorah. So we have two psukim. After the Mitzorah is ready for Tara, notice he's cured of his tzaras, then the Torah commands that he take 2 live tar birds, and we're going to see that he takes also a shtei tziporim. Okay, what else? Trying to remember the pasuk. It says 8 erez. And it says Hargamon, I think. Anyway, the Kohen now slaughters 1 bird in a kli cheres over mayim chayim. Then he has the other bird, which is the live bird, and he takes it together with the erez and the new, what's it called? That little shrub. Sorry. Just give me a second. I want to bring over a chumash here. Sorry. Until you find the chumash here. There are thousands of sidurim here, but until you find the section for good. Okay, so we're in Vayikri Dalid. Okay, that's not this Shabbos, but next Shabbos. And what does it say here? Zos Torah, Zotia Torah Samitzor B'Yom Torah. So we will Akoim. Yes, Akoim L'chutz Minah Mizunah. Tziva Akoim Tash Shtei Tziporim Chayos Torahs. Oh, the 8 Erez. Oh, see, I forgot. Ushni Solas the Azov. Right, Azov is that small, like brush. You know, that's. I think it's called in English hyssop or something like that. Anyway, I'm probably not pronouncing it right. And Shni Tolas, I think, is scarlet, something like that. Okay, so let's get back on track. So what does it say in the pasuk? It says 8 Erez. Erez, I think, is called cedar. And it says Azov, which is hyssop. And Shni Tolas, which is a kind of wool that's dyed scarlet. And what does he do with this? It says, V'tavalo sam, v'esat tzipra achayo b'dam tzipra shchuta al amayim achayim. So he dips them and the live bird into the blood of the bird that was slaughtered over mayim chayim, over spring water. And then it says, V'hizal amitayr min hatzara sheva pa'amim v'tiaro. He shall sprinkle 7 times upon the person being purified from tzaras and purify him. Now let's see where the Gzera Shava is. Right? It says, V'tziva koin v'shochet asatzipra achas el kli cheres. So it says kli cheres. Okay. So now, ma lahalon cheres chadasha. From Mitzorah, you need a kli cheres that's never been used. Afkan kli cheres chadasha. Just 1 second. I'm looking now for the pasuk in Parsha Sotah. Oh, let's see if we can find it. Midbar Hey, pasuk Yud Zayin. Let's see. Midbar Hey. I'm hoping this will work out here. Pasuk Yud Zayin. Oh, V'lakach hakohen mayim kidoshim v'kli cheres. So we have the word kli cheres here, and here also in the parsha of Taras HaMitzorah, it says in pasuk Hey el kli cheres. So we have Gzera Shava, and this is going to teach, according to Rabbi Shmuel, that we need a kli cheres chadasha. Now, v'hasaminolan, in the Parsha Mitzorah, how do we know that it's got to be a kli cheres chadasha? D'chsiv v'shachat es hatzipor achas el kli cheres al mayim chayim, and now we have an equation between kli cheres and mayim. Ma mayim chayim shelo nesta bohen melacha. Afkli shalonesta bo malacha. So again, kli cheres chadasha means it was never used. There was never work that was done with the kli. So we have the spring water, which again has to be chayim. Chayim means that it's no longer chayim if there was any work done with it. Frek the Gemara, imalahalan mayim chayim afkan mayim chayim. How far are you going to go with this Gzera Shava? do we require that even in the case of a Sotah, we're going to require Mayim Chayim? Rabbi Shmuel answers, Rabbi Shmuel Achinami, Eino Chinami. Dom Rabbi Yochanan, May Kiyar. Right, we know that the water for the Sotah is taken from the Kiyar. And Rabbi Shmuel Omer, May Mayanhem. It's spring water. Chacham Omer Mishar Memosein. It could be other waters, not spring water. So again, according to Rabbi Shmuel, the water for a Sotah, which is taken from the Kiyar, is going to have to be a Kiyar that contains Mayim Chayim, that has spring water. So the Sotah's water was spring water. So Gemara says that in order to have a justified Gzeira Shava, you need what's called Mufne. Equal Mifrach, I could refute this Gzeira Shava. Ma limitzora shekain ton eitz erez v'ezov ushni solas. We see that in the case of mitzora, there are various unique requirements, right? We said you need eitz erez, which is cedar, and ezov, which is that wool that's colored scarlet, and then you need a shni tolas. Right, the Azov is the hyssop, and Shni Tolas is the scarlet wool. So that's why the Torah was makbid, and you need a kli cheres chadosha. Amar Rabba is now going to offer an alternative basis for Rabbi Shmuel's conclusion why you need a kli chadosha. Amar kra bekli cheres, right, in the Parsha Sotah. We saw in Pasuk Tezayin in Bamidbar Hey, it says B'Kli Cheres. Kli Shamarti L'cha Kfar. It's as if I had mentioned this Kli Cheres earlier. So again, even if it's not Gzeira Shava, because apparently the words are not superfluous to make it mufna, but nevertheless, we could derive from the fact that Kfar. I already told you previously. And that's referring back to Vayikra Perek Yudalid. And that requires a Kli Cheres Kadosh. Omar Rava, now we go to the Tan of our Mishnah who rejects Rabbi Yishmael. Lo shanu el shelo nisakmu panel. Even the Rabbanon have a limit beyond which the Kli Cheres is not valid. This akmu panav psulim. Let's say you put this Kli Cheres over the fire and it becomes black on the outside. It really hasn't changed its color, but right now it looks black. My time adum yudamai, my maim shelo nishtanu af Kli shelo nishtanu. Okay, so the Kli can't be such a change that now it was blackened by fire. So they don't require a new Kli, but it's got to be lo nishtan. Boy Rav. What happens if he reverses the process? After the Kli became blackened by fire, he returns the Kli into a kivshon eish, into a furnace. And again it turns white. We have a principle in Kodshim that once something was nifsal, it was rejected, then it remains rejected li'olam v'ado. Dilma came into harder, but in this case, you return it to its original whiteness, and therefore we're not going to apply the din of idchu. Hashma, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, eitz erez v'ezov ushni tolas, shehifshil bahen kupasol achora psulin. So in the case of Taras HaMitzora, if he slings some sort of a kupa over his back, like a knapsack, and inside he's got the eitz erev, the ezov ushni tolas psulin. According to this Shita Rebbe Lazar, it's already bent out of shape. And that's called Keva de idchu. So what happened here? He took these elements and he used them to suspend the load over his shoulder. So he's going to straighten them out. So why shouldn't it be kosher? Why is it possible? The answer must be because hoel ve'idchu. And where rejects it. Hasam de iklufe. There was a damage, a physical damage to the Eitz Erez v'Ezo v'Shnitolas through the burden. And there's no way of correcting it. And therefore it's possible. But if you could correct it like the case of a blackened kli cheres and you put it back into the kivshan eish, then it would become kosher. The Mishnah says, "Nichlas leichel uponu liyamino, my time do marav kol pino shatapone lo yehei el derech yamin. Makom ha'isham ama al ama, ton rabbanon umina offer." The pasuk says, "Mina offer asher yihye," and it means from the earth that's already in the floor, underneath the tiles. Maybe you could take earth from outside the Azara and outside the Heichal and bring it inside the Heichal. Maybe it's sufficient that the earth enters into the airspace of the Heichal. Talmud Loma bekarka mishkan. So it's got to be earth on the floor of the Mishkan. I bekarka mishkan yochel yachbar bikardomos. So maybe in order to obtain the earth, he should dig with spades. Talmud Loma asher yiyeh, implying that the earth asher yiyeh, that will be. So it wasn't always there. So on the one hand, it seems that the Torah is saying mina offer, and it could be any offer. On the other hand, it says asher yiyeh hakeitzad. How do we reconcile this? Yesham havei. If there's earth there, then bring it. Ein sham, tein sham. If there's none there, then you place some there. So the combination of these two phrases teaches that it is preferable to take earth that was already on the floor of the Heichal, but if there is none, earth may be taken from outside the Heichal, placed on the floor for a short time, I don't know how long of a time, rather than having to use a spade to dig the earth from the sanctuary. And the Rambam in Hilchos Sotah says that we're not allowed to dig with a spade in the sanctuary, in the Heichal. Tanya Idach, we have another brayso mina ofar asher yeh melamed shayu mesakim v'chutzu machs. So that if need be, he would prepare earth from outside the Heichal and bring it in for a short period of time in the karka of the Heichal. So the Kohen may therefore prepare earth outside the Heichal, bring it in, and then put the earth into the water. The karka mishkan isi ben Yehuda omer lahavi karka. What does it mean lahavi karka? And that has to do with Shiloh. No forgiven obase olamim. All right, that will fully neder. We'll pick it up tomorrow on Daf Tez Zayin Amen Alpha. Okay, thank you so much, and